Some betrayals have the power to shatter a person's life in an instant. Imagine the one you love, the person who once vowed eternal loyalty, gazing into your eyes one day and making a confession so devastating that it unravels everything you believe to be true. The illusions of love crumble, revealing long-buried secrets, an old lover who should have remained in the past, and an unexpected invitation to a luxurious getaway. What begins as an innocent conversation soon spirals into something far more sinister. In this story, you will witness how a seemingly unbreakable marriage collapses and how an unforeseen romance rises from the ruins of betrayal. But this journey will take far more shocking turns than you can imagine. Before we dive in, if you don't want your life to be turned upside down like mine, make sure to subscribe to my channel. Here, we share real stories filled with valuable lessons every day. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments and show your support by liking this video. Now that you've subscribed, let's begin. Betrayal often arrives unnoticed. A simple message, a familiar face from the past, an innocent-seeming coincidence, until suddenly everything changes. I, Lucas Bennett, realized far too late that my life had reached a devastating turning point. From the outside, my marriage to Elena appeared flawless. We had a beautiful home, a wonderful daughter, and a steady routine built over the years. Like any couple, we had faced challenges, but none of them had been destructive, or so I believed, until that fateful night. It was an ordinary Wednesday evening. The TV weather report predicted a bright and sunny weekend. Then, out of nowhere, Elena turned to me, her gaze locking onto mine. Something about her expression was off. It wasn't fear, nor was it relief. It was an unease I couldn't quite place. "Lucas," she murmured, her voice trembling as if she was forcing the words out. "I have something to tell you." I turned away from the screen, my stomach knotting with unease. "Okay, I'm listening." She hesitated, drawing in a deep breath. "It's not something that happened recently. It's actually from years ago." A chill ran down my spine. "Go on." She exhaled sharply, avoiding my gaze. "Do you remember Ryan Grant?" The moment she spoke that name, a cold sensation washed over me. Of course, I remembered him. Ryan Grant, the town's infamous womanizer. The man who had been shot by an enraged husband after seducing a married woman. "Yes, I remember him," I said, my voice turning icy. "What about him? Did someone finally put an end to his games?" Elena gave a nervous smile, but her eyes lacked any real amusement. "No. Ryan was in town a few weeks ago for an old friend's wedding." I felt as if the air had been knocked out of my lungs. My pulse quickened. "And?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "He met Gabriella there. Gabriella Maria Erickson. She knew about us. She mentioned me to him." Elena took another shaky breath before continuing. "Ryan got curious. He wanted to reconnect. And Gabriella," she gave him my number. A fire ignited inside me. "And he called you." Elena hesitated before nodding. "Yes, we spoke a few times." I didn't need to hear anything else. My fists clenched as anger surged through me. "Do you not see what he's doing?" I snapped. "I warned you about him years ago. This is the same man who used to brag about never failing with a married woman." She averted her gaze, her fingers gripping the edge of the couch. "Lucas, he's just an old friend." I let out a bitter laugh. "An old friend? Is that what we're calling it now? And what exactly does this friend want?" The color drained from Elena's face. It was as if her entire body had turned to stone. Her next words shattered everything I thought I knew. "Ryan invited me to Ischia, a week-long stay at a 5-star hotel." I stared at her, my mind reeling. "And what did you say?" I asked, gritting my teeth, my voice dangerously low. She lowered her head. I said yes. At that moment, something inside me shattered. With those 3 words, our marriage, our family, and every memory we had built together came crumbling down. But the worst part, This was only the beginning. The storm that raged inside me was impossible to contain. Part of me wanted to scream. Another part wanted to deny it, to pretend I had misheard her. But what unsettled me most was the look on Elena's face. It wasn't guilt. It wasn't regret. It was hesitation. "You've lost your mind," I said, my voice cold and unsteady. "Do you even understand what this means? That man made it clear years ago what he wanted, and yet you agreed to this knowing exactly that." Elena's eyes brimmed with tears. "Lucas, please, just listen. Nothing is going to happen. We're only going to reminisce. That's all." A bitter laugh escaped me as I fought to contain my growing fury. Reminisce? About what? To him. "You're just another conquest, Elena, and you're willingly walking into it." Her voice trembled as she whispered, "Please, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. We could never afford something like this. Just try to understand." As her words echoed in my mind, whatever fragments of trust one still clung to shattered completely. "Let me ask you something," I said, locking eyes with her. "If I reconnected with an old flame and she invited me on a lavish getaway, and I accepted, how would you feel?" Elena hesitated, her gaze shifting away. She didn't answer. "Of course you wouldn't," I whispered, "because you know it's wrong." But it was already too late. That night, silence swallowed us whole. We didn't exchange another word. The only thing that filled the void between us was the unbearable weight of everything unsaid. The next morning, I found breakfast waiting for me in the kitchen. Elena stood there, smiling as if nothing had happened. "Do you still look at me like I'm a fool?" she asked. I sat down slowly. "Did you cancel the trip?" The spark in her eyes flickered out instantly. "No, but I was wondering what you thought about it." I let out a humorless chuckle. "Then yes, I still see you that way." Her face fell, but I no longer cared. That day, I did something I hadn't considered in years. I reached out to Clara Smith, our neighbor. "Would you like to have lunch?" I texted her. Clara had divorced her unfaithful husband a few months ago. She was strong, independent. Our daughters were close friends, and over the years, I had come to respect her resilience. At lunch, I made her an offer. "Maria and I are planning a trip to Euro Disney," I said. "I don't want to go alone. Would you and your daughter like to join us? I'll cover everything." Clara narrowed her eyes. "That's unexpected." "I know," I admitted, "but I need this." She studied me for a moment before nodding. "All right, we'll come." In that instant, I felt something stir within me, something I hadn't felt in a long time. I couldn't name it, but I knew this was the first step in my quiet retaliation against Elena's betrayal. As Elena packed her bags for Ischia, I was already putting my own plan into motion. As far as I was concerned, our marriage was over. Maybe she hadn't crossed the final line at that hotel yet, but the moment she agreed to Ryan's invitation, she had already betrayed me. Betrayal wasn't just in the body. It started in the mind, and her mind had long since drifted from me. That morning, she left the house without a goodbye. No hug, no final glance, just silence. As she headed for Ischia, I took action. First, I tracked down Ryan Grant's wife. Thanks to the friend who had given Elena's number to Ryan, I discovered who she was and where she lived. When I called her, her voice was a mix of anger and heartbreak. "Lucas," she said firmly, "I've known about his affairs for years. But this time, he's gone too far. I'll make sure he faces the consequences." As I ended the call, a sense of calm washed over me. But my work wasn't done. In Elena's absence, a new chapter was beginning for Maria and me. That evening, Clara and I finalized our travel plans. This trip to Euro Disney wasn't just an escape. It was the start of something new. When we arrived in Paris, our daughters bonded instantly, their laughter slowly filling the emptiness inside me. One morning at breakfast, Clara suddenly reached across the table and placed her hand over mine. "Lucas," she asked softly, "are you okay?" I turned to her, and for the first time in a long while, I smiled, a genuine, unforced smile. For the first time, I admitted, I think I am, and I truly was, because in that moment, I understood Elena's betrayal hadn't destroyed me. It had set me free.